Students, this is the reference booklet for lessons 8.1-4. All of the area equations. Some of these you've gotten. So in triangles, it's base times height over 2, acute and obtuse. Keep in mind the height is on the outside. In a right triangle, the base is one leg. The height is simply the other leg. So leg times leg over 2. Technically, that's one leg times the other leg over 2. In your quad family tree, parallelogram is base times height. Height always creates a right angle. A rectangle is also base times height. Height always creates a right angle. Of course, in a rectangle, you might commonly know it also as length times width, and that's perfectly fine. In a rhombus and a kite, draw on the diagonals. Diagonals make a right angle. So the equation is the same for both. One diagonal times, and that's times not plus, the other diagonal. Diagonal times diagonal over 2. Diagonal times diagonal over 2. A square, length times width, it qualifies as a rectangle, so it would be just side square. But keep in mind, a square also qualifies as a rhombus. So I could also use diagonal times diagonal over 2. Trapezoid, you average the bases and you times by the height. Average the bases times the height. That's your quad family tree. And we went over here. Any regular polygon is perimeter times the apothem over 2. The apothem makes a right angle and hits the midpoint of a side. Perimeter times apothem over 2. Because we're dealing with polygons, you should be familiar. The sum of interior angles, sides minus 2 times 180. The sum of exterior angles will always be 360. Each angle of a regular polygon, sum over sides, ain't this fun? So that would be the sum here. This would be the sum there. Sum over sides, ain't this fun? The sum of interior angles, sides minus 2 times 180. You should be familiar with that. And then here, well, how do you find the area of a shape like this? This is regular. It's going to be perimeter times apothem over 2. It's going to be this area. We have the perimeter. Excuse me. Can I keep my color straight? Because we can just do 8 times 6. What we're missing is the apothem. So we need that. Regular polygon, regular pizza. Adds up to 360. Divided by 6, that gets me my pizza angles in this case is 60. which means this angle right here is 30. So there's a couple ways I could solve for x. I could use 30, 60, 90. Let me just show you what that would look like. This edge here would be 4 because it's half of the 8. Therefore, going to the long leg times root 3 would make this 4 root 3. Or I could use SOHCAHTOA, and if I'm using this angle right here, that would be adjacent, and the 4 would be the opposite. So I could do tan of 30 over 1 equals opposite 4 over my adjacent, which is x. And x would equal 4 divided by the tan of 30. Just so you can see how that works. 4 divided by the tan of 30 gets me 6.9. So you can see that these are equivalent. We're going to do 4 times root 3. So square root of 3 times 4, 6.9, same thing. So if I wanted this in exact terms, my perimeter would be 64 times my apothem, which is 4 root 3 over 2. And I'd get 128 root 3 units squared, or 64 times my apothem, 6.9 over 2. Is 204.8. And just so you can see, these are the same thing. Let's do 128 times root 3, just for giggles. And so they would be equivalent here. This would be a composite shape, so how would you find the area of this? This would be pi r squared over 2. This one, I drop down the hypotenuse. All 3 sides are equal, and I have another 30, 60, 90. Last thing you need to be familiar with is arc length versus sector area. Arc length is fraction of circumference. So that'd be theta over 360 times d pi. And sector area is fraction of area, sector area, which is theta over 360 times pi r squared.